In an effort to save Zeta Prime, Optimus enacts a bold plan to allow himself and a few others to be captured by the Decepticons. The plan works all too well, and soon the Autobots find themselves en route to Kaon, the capital city of the Decepticons.
Prisoner transfer. Military of Megatron! Move it, Autobots!
I hope you know what you're doing, Optimus.
Have faith, Bumblebee, and follow my lead.
Optimus is right. We've been in tougher spots than this. Wow. Megatron has gathered quite the army, hasn't he?
Quiet!
Data signature confirmed. Opening main gate.
Welcome to Kaon!
You gonna talk now? I want the location. I told you! I don't know! Look, that's the one who fought Starscream. He doesn't look so tough.
Soundwave! Your prisoners have arrived!
Initiate processing.
We captured them trying to raid supplies outside of Kaon!
Take them to recycling.
Move it, prisoner!
Recycling? That doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah? What exactly do you think they're recycling?
Keep moving!
What a jerk.
Patience. Our time is near.
What is this place?
Get in there, Autobot.
Are those caskets?
What is that?
The Energon Bridge. It powers Megatron's orbital base. Halt! Ready! And fire! You're next, Autobot. Up against the wall!
Optimus, this is all part of the plan, right?
Ready!
Optimus!
Aim! Look out!
Optimus! Looks like I got here just in time.
I'll say!
Thank you, Air Raid. The plan is working perfectly. By allowing ourselves to be captured, we've gained access to the prison. Now stand a much better chance of saving Zeta Prime.
I like to make a dramatic entrance. Here, head into the service ducts. They should lead to the lower prison level. That's probably where they...
Open up!
Good luck.
There! Get him! Where are they?
Where or who?
Take him to Soundwave!
Optimus, we gotta help him!
Easy, Bumblebee. It's too great a risk right now, unarmed as we are. But I promise, we'll come back for air raid as soon as possible. Let's get moving.
Hello Autobots and Decepticons, my name is Somongry and I'd like to welcome you guys to some more Transformers War for Cybertron campaign. And I know it's been a little while since I did this. I kind of took a break from it because it does require quite a bit of research on my end, but I'm back into it. And this episode we will be talking about Generation 1 Bumblebee. And I know he's a fan favorite, and he's also a favorite of the humans, as he has probably the most interaction between any Transformer of any universe with humans. So I know you guys all love him out there. He is a brave soldier. And if you guys don't know how this episode works, or how these episodes work, I should say, I kind of just pick out a character who I will be playing with, and then I talk about their Generation 1 history from the G1 cartoon. This history has nothing to do with any other series, so just to let you guys know, that's a little disclaimer, because sometimes I get some comments saying, what about this, what about that? But this has only to do with the Generation 1 cartoon, and if I mention something else, I will mention where that is from. So I wanted to get this little fact out of the way right away. In the Generation 1 series, Bumblebee spoke. He's not your Michael Bay Bumblebee where he would just beep, beep, beep. And he is a very cool character. And I think Turtle Doom said it right when he is kind of like the Spider-Man of the group. He's a younger, cockier, and he's a pretty funny Autobot. And he has a lot of human contact, like I was saying, so we do get a lot of human interaction with him, which I believe ties in kind of the human interest into the series. And I think Michael Bay kind of took advantage of that quite a bit. But in Generation 1, there wasn't so much human contact with the series, which I really, really enjoyed, because it was more about the Transformers than it was about any of the humans. It was more or less the Transformers were saving the humans from the evil Decepticons, but I don't want to get into that. I'm getting off topic. Let's talk about Generation 1 Bumblebee. He is one of the smallest and one of the more weaker Autobots, but his size does give him an advantage. He can do his scout job very, very good, but he is also very self-conscious about his size, as he normally has to look up on fellow Autobots because he is rather short, but he also makes for a very good spy, being so small and be able to fit in different spots. And also, he is a pretty smart Autobot. And he also is very kind and gentle. He is able to make friends with humans quite easily, and that may be because of his size as well, because he's a little bit shorter. He's not as intimidating as, say, Optimus Prime walking up to you. And speaking of Optimus Prime, he really looks up to Optimus, and he does believe in the Autobot cause a lot. And even Optimus looks up to Bumblebee a little bit because of how brave Bumblebee is, and he is one of the most well-liked Autobots, and he also has respect from everyone. And a little fun fact here, as I was doing some research, I didn't realize this, or maybe I just forgot, but into the future he was rebuilt and his name was called Goldbug, and this was kind of his mature version of Bumblebee. So that is something that I personally didn't recall, but he was rebuilt and he was actually a more mature version of Bumblebee, so that was pretty cool. He also has a very cool Cybertronian form, which I'm going to show right now. It'd be a pretty crazy like UFO that you'd see floating around your house, but who's talking about aliens? And let's jump into the Generation 1 story of Bumblebee. Bumblebee was on that arc that I talked about in previous episodes. If you guys want to hear about that story, definitely go back. I think I explained it the best in the Megatron one. But we all know the Autobots crash landed on Earth, and Bumblebee was part of the arc. And then as soon as he was awoken, he took the form of a Volkswagen Beetle, which you don't really see too much, or at least the style of Bumblebee. You don't really see too much of that. And I can kind of see why Michael Bay chose to change his form, because that's not the hippest of cars. And during his time on Earth, he became good friends with Spike, Witwicky, and his father Sparkplug, and that's a heck of a name for a dad. And he met them after the Decepticons attacked an oil rig. And Bumblebee, he is a great helper, and he's also a pretty good spy. He does get himself into some sticky situations. I always remember him getting captured a bunch of times, but he does save the Autobots quite a bit.
Now that it's been armed, we can use it for transport.
There! It's working! Down we go!
Is that good or bad?
Bumblebee, we're locked inside an enemy prison, surrounded by countless Decepticons bent on our destruction.
So it is bad.
It's purely a matter of perspective.
Well, I'm loving this! Let's crack some heads!
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Look at this. The prodigy returns.
Megatron, I knew you couldn't resist rescuing Zeta Prime, which is why I orchestrated the entire thing. Zeta contacting you, your capture, all of it, all to bring you before me. Welcome to your defeat.
Megatron's not messing around.
Yeah? Neither are we.
And I'm going to skip around on some missions that were kind of memorable to me. And speaking of getting caught, there was this one thing that the Decepticons were making. I shouldn't say thing. They were trying to make a space bridge. And Bumblebee and Spike were spying on them. So Ravage ended up catching Bumblebee. And he, as in Megatron, forced Bumblebee and Spike to ride on this space bridge. And they did manage to escape for a quick second by transforming out of there, but then Bumblebee got captured again, and he had his memory bank altered, and then he was later fixed by Ratchet, and then the Autobots were able to come and avoid a trap by the Decepticons and save Spike before he was sent to Cybertron.
What I do for all of Cybertron. My orbital station's Energon bridge is back online, allowing me to create an infinite supply of dark Energon. I shall use that power to return our planet to its former glory. At what cost, Megatron? At any cost!
So after this little incident, Spike and Bumblebee basically became the best of friends, and Bumblebee was a pretty cool ride, and he even helped Spike pick up a lady. Bow chicka wow wow. But I will get into that later on. But the point is, Bumblebee equals awesome wingman. Kind of a funny episode that I remember is the Decepticons had made the Empire State Building disappear, so Bumblebee had to travel to New York City, and he, Mirage, Hound, and Ratchet ventured through their sewer system, and they pursued this Decepticon. His name was Alligator Con, and it turned out that this creature was built from Optimus Prime's parts because Prime had been captured by Megatron and disassembled, and then he kind of had his parts all over the city doing different things. And it was pretty funny. In this episode, there's a huge mistake in the cartoon, and you will see some mistakes in the G1 cartoon, but they have Optimus Prime's hand and arm shooting down at the Autobots, and then they showed Optimus and he had both his arms, and I always remember that being kind of what? But Bumblebee, he helped take out the gun on top of the tower and get Prime his third arm back, and then he was seen driving around with an I Love New York license plate. A little bit further down the timeline is a pretty funny episode that I just watched, and there was a couple lines that just made me crack up, but I'll get to that. It showed Bumblebee and Spike at the arcade, and they were playing video games. They were on their way to pick up something for Wheeljack for some device he was making. It was called the Immobilizer, and they ended up just stopping at the arcade, and there was a girl that came up to Spike, and her name was Carly, and she was very interested in the whole Transformers, the Autobots, but she ended up getting herself captured, typical woman, and then they had to actually go rescue her at the Decepticons base. So this Immobilizer ended up getting into the wrong hands of the Decepticons, and the Immobilizer would freeze them into a statue, and then they couldn't move at all. And then so all the Autobots ended up coming there, and then Jazz showed something interesting. He used a sonic sound wave, and it was a bunch of funky music playing, and it distracted the Decepticons for a bit. I guess they weren't a fan of jazz. And then Carly was able to sneak into the Immobilizer and reverse it, and it tricked the Decepticons, and I believe it was Frenzy using this Immobilizer into unfreezing them, and then the Autobots saved the day as well as Carly.
What just happened?
That lousy bucket of bolts cheated, that's what.
Megatron teleported us directly into a prison cell.
The Autobots are secure. Escape is impossible.
Enjoy your stay, Autobots! Rust in peace!
They took our guns. Again? Anybody got any ideas?
Autobots, I'm sensing fate energy emanations.
No offense, Optimus, but I don't see how that's going to help.
Well then, Sideswipe. Watch and learn.
Whoa!
Didn't know you could do that?
There is much you don't know about me, Sideswipe.
Look at all those prison cells.
Autobots! They're coming to save us! Free us!
These cells are hard-locked. Optimus, can you chop through the wall again?
No, I'm afraid not. Doing that requires all of my reserve power. It takes a long time.
Gotta be a way to open these doors.
Air Raid surveyed this prison thoroughly. When we find him, we find our answer.
You looking to free us?
Your freedom is near, my brothers. Be patient, be strong, and be ready to fight.
Wait! Where are you going? Optimus! We'll spread the word. Good luck!
And in the end, Spike ended up scoring a date with Carly, and they went off to get a chocolate soda. And I laughed pretty hard when I heard that. I don't even remember chocolate sodas. I don't know if they were real or if that was just a thing of the past, but that made me crack up quite a bit. And in another episode that I recently watched, Bumblebee was organizing a fundraiser with the Autobots with Spike, and they were doing a race, and then the Decepticons had this device that would freeze the Autobots in their car forms for good. So Bumblebee saw them use this over all the Autobots, including Optimus, and being the good scout that Bumblebee is, he rushed back to the base quickly to get the Autobots that were not in the race. And so the Autobots that could transform ended up helping them out. I can't remember if they reversed the device in this one or if the effect just wore off over time, but they definitely came and helped out Optimus, Ironhide, and the rest of the Autobots that were about ready to be made into scrap metal. So that was a very good job by the scout Bumblebee, going to report back what is going on. And he's a pretty good scout overall, I'd say. And not only being a good scout, he is always an Autobot you can rely on to make the right decisions. So I'm going to move forward in time here quite a bit. I definitely recommend watching the Generation 1 series if you have not. There are lots of episodes and they all are very entertaining. So into the future, I'm going to talk about the G1 movie. I always kind of end off what happened to them in the Generation 1 movie. So it was 2005 in the movie, and the Decepticons had retaken Cybertron, and Spike and Bumblebee were stationed at Moonbase 2. And it was here that we encountered Unicron, who was devouring planets, and they saw Unicron totally destroy Moonbase 1. So Spike and Bumblebee had a plan to make a bomb and explode it inside of Unicron once he sucked it in and then escape. And I thought it was kind of a funny part in the Generation 1 movie because it was the first time you hear anyone ever swear in Generation 1, and I was like, holy cow! When I was young, I was like, they just swear! And you know how little kids get when they hear profanity. They get all crazy. But anyways, the explosion barely scratched Unicron, and then their ship was sucked into his mouth. So a little bit later on in the movie, more towards the end, you see Bumblebee and Spike being kind of digested along the assembly line that they're hanging from Unicron, and Daniel Witwicky comes and saves the day and saves Bumblebee and his father, Spike. So after that, Bumblebee was then stationed on Earth, and he did fail to defend his Autobot headquarters against the giant Decepticon Trypticon. So kind of later on in the series, Bumblebee was back on Cybertron, and this was kind of along the time when Optimus Prime was no more. And he got in a bit of trouble when Rodimus Prime and Bumblebee went to investigate an attack, and they ran into Superion, and Bumblebee was heavily damaged. So a little while goes on, and after Optimus Prime was rebuilt by the Quintessons, Bumblebee was also rebuilt in a more powerful form that I mentioned before, known as Goldbug. So Optimus Prime was back with Bumblebee, also known as Goldbug, and they made journeys together. And the last we saw of Bumblebee, he was cheering the crowds as they were bringing in a new golden age of Cybertron. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learning a little bit about G1 Bumblebee. I'm sure I missed a lot. I'm sure I didn't cover it to the greatest, but I tried hard, and so would Bumblebee.
I was wondering when you guys were gonna show up.
We took the extended tour, saw the sights, blasted some bad guys, the usual.
Don't get too cocky. I suspect we aren't alone.
Hey, what was that?
So I got a little extra time here while I blast some Decepticon foes with the Ion Displacer. I hope you guys are happy that I brought back the episodes of Transformers War for Cybertron campaign. I know it's been a while, like I was saying before.
Protocol, each with its own switch. Be careful. There may be more of those cloakers in the tunnel.
And this was requested, and I said I would continue this. I am not one to start something and not finish it. So you can expect more coming your way. I believe next will be Sideswipe. And then after that, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure we'll get to Ironhide and Warpath as well. And look at these spiders. I am the Spider King. That's pretty funny. And I am kind of curious in Fall Cybertron how Bumblebee's story will tie in when he loses his voice. We will have to wait and see for that. So I pretty much have nothing else to say here. I'm going to let the rest of this play out. I will save Air Raid because he saved us. And I thank you, Air Raid, for your services and saving Bumblebee, Optimus, and Sideswipe. What will we do without you? So remember, leave a comment, leave a rating, and subscribe for more Transformers. Have a good day, everyone.
Cannon, Air Raid! We're working here!
These guys aren't gonna make it easy for us, are they?
Roger that, Robro.
Robro? Are you serious?
Well, I can't just call you B all the time. That'd get boring.
Hey, Sideswipe, let's talk and more shooting! Free at last!
Good work, Autobots. We're not finished until every Autobot here is free.
I spotted a physical control room on my way in. From there, we can override every hard lock in the prison.
Lead the way, Air Raid.